Howdy, it's Lynn with just a few more comments since we ran out of time in class today. This is Tuesday, and we saw the 2-year-old goes to the hospital today. If you look at the nugget box, carry out nugget box instructions for this week, you'll find some comments about the topics that will be covered on the quiz. So for those of you who were wishing you had a study guide or wondering what was on the quiz, if you just take a look at the nugget box carry out section, you'll see what you need to know. And then I wanted to point out that I couldn't remember the word protest when I was talking about the 3 stages of pain that children who are well attached to their parents go through when they are separated, and the word I could not remember was protest. So is protest, then despair, then for Pete's sakes, is protest, then despair, then detachment? And you can think about that in terms of Laura and when she was protesting at the beginning of being separated from her mom, and then when we got to see her falling into despair as she began picking her nose and hitting her baby, and she stopped crying. And then detachment we talked about a little bit, where there toward the end when her parents came or left, she wasn't making much of a ruckus because she was feeling like detaching from them in order to, I assume, to protect herself. So here's the thing about your primary family. I made reference to this ongoing exercise that will be starting, I guess, next week, you could say. I want you to create a family that will be an imaginary family. Please do not use your own family or a family you love, because I'm going to provide some troubling challenges for this family, and it might be painful if we're talking about someone real that you care about. And the family you're going to create will have the 3 generations, as I explained to you. If you look at the materials I've attached in Nugget Box 4 Carryout, you'll see something called your primary family instructions. And I think that gives pretty good details of what I want you to include as you create a primary family. And then your next assignment, even before we go farther with conversation about your family, is to create for me and for your own organized thinking a family portrait. There are several models I've attached for you to consider as you're making a family portrait. You do not need to follow the models that I've offered up, but I do want you to submit to me a picture, a drawing, or a diagram that shows the 3 generations and tells me some things about your family that would include the professions or the occupations of each of the family members. Some of them may be retired, but I'd like you to tell me from what they retired. Some of the people in your family may actually be children, and so their occupations are not going to be professions, but they might have the occupation of 3rd grader or ballerina or car smasher, toy car smasher. You get to create that. As you're deciding about your family, I hope you will create families that are seeming to be real. We're not looking for the house with a picket fence in front that has necessarily 2 mom and dad caregivers and 2.5 children and a dog, but families that really could occur in real life where they may have some challenges. And in fact, you're going to be called on to tell me one of the challenges, the ongoing challenges that your family as a whole is grappling with. And that might be something like grandma has dementia, or it's a farming family and they've had a terrible crop year and they're facing bankruptcy. Or maybe this family is from outside of the United States and somebody in the family is facing deportation. There, you can create what the family challenge is, and I'm going to accept whatever that is. And you can have unborn babies in your picture. I hope you'll show instances of different kinds of relationships and deaths and remarriages and stepchildren. And I hope you'll even consider having a family that does not exactly match your own in terms of race and other ethnicity factors, socioeconomic status, place of origin. Go ahead and be creative, and maybe this will be a chance to learn something about people that aren't exactly like you and your family, because maybe you'll be doing a little research about others. So that's the primary family instructions. I think you'll find this to be fun. And I'm always excited at this part in this semester because I can't wait to meet the families you create. And you're going to establish one child in your family that's to be a hospital patient. And so then I'm going to be assigning a diagnosis to your patient. If you have something you really want to learn more about and you want to tell me the diagnosis of your child in your primary family, you may, but know that I'm standing by to create more parts to the story of your family. Let's see, I think I told you that there's a list of what you'll study for as you're preparing for quiz 1. You want to be sure you understand what the strange situation was, and you've seen a video about that, and we talked about it a little in class today, so I think you're ready for that. That's all. Oh, that's not all. One more thing. I knew I had one more thing. So I mentioned this briefly, but I really want you to study the information about the Bronfenbrenner diagrams. If you don't feel like you're absolutely confident about it, remembering that influence comes from the person in the middle all the way out to the macro system, and from the macro system all the way back into the person in the middle. So when you're drawing your diagrams, you're, I hope, always going to have an arrow that's going in both directions. And within the mesosystem, we're talking about relationships between people or factors in somebody's microsystem. So you should have arrows kind of going all around as though the mesosystem wheel is a moving part. If you're unclear about that, reach out to me and I'll be glad to talk with you individually in a Zoom conversation. Okay, happy Tuesday. The sun came out where I am. I hope you're seeing the sun, and I'll talk to you soon.